Hi, I'm Jake, Senior DevOps Engineer at Reprise.
Hi, I'm Sarah Idris, and I'm a Director of Product here at Reprise Team.
Hi, I'm Trevor, and I'm a software developer here at Reprise.
Garden has enabled us to walk the line between sort of old school, long-lived server-based development environments and our modern Kubernetes-based microservices production environments, and really enable our developers to have these environments that act like production, but give them the stability that they need to work on their projects over time.
The primary benefit we've gotten here on the development team is the time savings it's provided. The previous tool we were using had inconsistent file syncing, and a large part of its process that we were using it for required complete rebuilding of our development environments, which slowed us down a lot. With Garden, we can trust that our code is compiled properly, our code is syncing properly to our remote machines, which generally has improved the speed of the development process significantly.
Primarily, our users are generally our software engineers, our product managers, our solutions engineers. They generally interact with Garden by being able to set it and forget it. They run Garden Dev, and then they just do their work. So the other feature that's been really powerful for us is tasks. We have a fair number of repeatable jobs that need to be run, things like resetting your database or doing releases of certain portions of the product, things like that. And we're able to define tasks that the engineers and PMs can just run instead of having to remember how to do a bunch of complicated sets of steps.
Garden has helped with remote development in a couple of different ways. The first way is, when switching branches between different features that we're working on, we can be confident that everything's going to sync correctly with our remote sandbox and ensure that our code is consistent between our environments. Aside from that, compared to our previous sort of configuration for how we did development, for how we managed our environments, we can trust that the environment's going to be consistent every time. So as a developer here, Garden has definitely made me significantly happier than before we were using Garden. Now I can trust that any issue with my code is not actually going to be an environment syncing issue, for example, or something not compiling, just like it would be with our last tool we were using. So it allows me to develop faster, it allows me to pinpoint issues faster, and generally just improves my speed significantly. And I have much less stress throughout the entire process.
Generally speaking, absolutely. As with rolling out any new tool, there's growing pains, there's issues to work through. But on the whole, Garden has worked so much better than what we were using before. And when we've run into problems, the Garden team has just been a delight to work with and helps us work through all the issues we've come across. So yeah, overall, I think the developers are much happier than they were previously. I think one of the biggest improvements over how things worked for us before is the persistence of environments, being able to have long-lived database instances. That's been a real game changer for us over our previous environments. Additionally, the sort of faster build times, the caching of build images across different developers' environments has been a huge speed improvement. And then the tasks have really been a real great feature in terms of saving time for our developers, giving them these repeatable jobs that they can just enter one command and it does a bunch of stuff for them.
Garden has helped with remote development in a couple of different ways. The first way is, when switching branches between different features that we're working on, we can be confident that everything's going to sync correctly with our remote sandbox and ensure that our code is consistent between our environments. Aside from that, compared to our previous sort of configuration for how we did development, for how we managed our environments, we can trust that the environment's going to be consistent every time.
Working with the Garden team has been a really great experience. Having come on board with you guys really early on, it's been great having some really good direct access with the co-founders. They've been amazing partners in terms of just working through the issues we've had, getting things set up, figuring out the approach to how we should even set up our environments. As you've grown, it's also been great just meeting the new folks that have come on board, and everyone I've worked with has been a delight to work with and very good at what they do. Currently, we're only using Garden for our development environments. What we're really excited to look into next is looking at the feasibility of moving to doing our continuous integration through Garden, to potentially in the future, maybe even looking at using Garden for doing our production deployments. One of the exciting things about Garden is that it can do all of these things and give us a better, more unified way of doing all of this stuff in one method. Another feature we're excited about using soon is being able to set up publicly accessible ingresses for our development environments. Right now, the way we're primarily interacting with these environments is with the sort of localhost port forwards that Garden Dev sets up. But if we can make these environments publicly accessible with some security, obviously, that'll mean that a developer can much more easily and quickly show a PM or a support person a feature or a bug fix they're working on.
The difference is night and day with the file syncing issues, both when switching branches, pretty consistent there, and also, actually just writing code and having it populate properly. I've had a few issues here and there, but probably in the first week. And ever since then, first week of switching to Garden, to be clear. And ever since then, ever since we ironed those out, it's greatly increased the productivity of our team, both on the product side and the dev side. And the fact that the environments are much more consistent, it means we have to restart Garden Dev fewer times, which means we don't have to run a 5 to 10 minute compilation process of our entire backend and front end. So those sort of go hand in hand and sort of exponentially decrease the speed or decrease the time wasted on these things. Sort of what I touched on in the earlier point. For anything we needed to do specifically in the cloud environment that we couldn't do locally. With Blimp, we would have to SSH in, run the vanilla command, whatever task it might be, and that could be a long command. But with Garden's reusable tasks, it's much simpler. You could run it, locally instead of having to SSH in and remember which service it's running in, because some things will be running in different services, things like that, and trust that you're doing it correctly. So that's just a nice sort of tidbit that improves my workflow.
Garden has greatly improved our developers' quality of life while coding. The team's been really collaborative with our DevOps function to add new features and fine-tune things to keep the systems moving smoothly. And so now my teams can focus on accelerating value for our customers and less on troubleshooting environment problems. Product teams use Garden to manage their local environment connections and synchronize different versions of the code base during development and user acceptance testing. So my workflow is a little different as a product manager than the rest of the members of our development team, because I'm often switching between branches to check out code from different developers when they have a question or if they want some feedback on a particular feature. So I'm switching really frequently, which means I need that to be fast and reliable and make sure that I can stay efficient with my workflow so that the team can get feedback quickly and we can keep the dev cycle moving. With our previous solution, I often experienced synchronization issues that prevented me from reliably seeing the same thing that developers were seeing on their machine. So we were seeing different versions of the code, and it resulted in wasted cycles and a lot of frustration on both sides. Garden has effectively put all of those synchronization issues in the rearview mirror for us. So now if my teams run into challenges during development, I can easily reference logs or kind of self-service to figure out what might be going on and be more self-sufficient, but I'm not running into synchronization issues that make me lose trust in my environment and what I'm seeing.